mushrooms kind of seem to be the solution to all problems. Want to boost your memory? Try lion's mane mushrooms. Are your depression symptoms proving to be treatment resistant? What about taking advantage of the hundreds of mushrooms that make psilocybin? Just got a cancer diagnosis? No way. Mushrooms cannot be this good. I mean, I've heard that they can kick your immune system up a notch, but fighting cancer? As it turns out, scientists have looked into one mushroom in particular that does seem to act as an anti-cancer agent, but their conclusions only go so far. So here's what we know about the science of reishi mushrooms. Its scientific name is Ganoderma lucidum, but depending on where you are in the world, you might know it by names like linji or reishi. Throughout Asia, this mushroom has been used medicinally for generations, but it hadn't been studied in the lab until somewhat recently. And preclinical investigations have concluded that these mushrooms seem to be generally great at boosting immune systems. Now, I know that you can walk down any supplement aisle and see words like immune boosting painted across pretty much everything, but when scientists talk about immune boosting mushrooms, they're basing that statement off of things like how many immune cells you have before and after consuming this stuff. This is a measure of how strong your body's defenses are. They also look at symptoms and signs of disease, like how many tumors you grow and how much bigger or smaller they are getting. So as buzzwordy as immune boosting sounds, it is a testable thing even in extreme immune challenges like cancer. And yes, researchers have studied what this mushroom can do to prevent cancer growth. The research in mice is pretty exciting. In one study of mice with colon cancer, the group fed G. lucidum extracts had a higher survival rate than the mice that did not get the supplements. The mushrooms significantly decreased the size and number of tumors. Not only were those mice surviving, but they were comparatively thriving with fewer cancer symptoms, from less weight loss to less diarrhea. And a lot of it is probably thanks to the work these mushrooms do to keep inflammation down. Cancer thrives in inflamed areas of the colon. Reishi mushrooms are full of the kind of carbohydrates that can be fermented into short-chain fatty acids, which have anti-inflammatory properties. So maybe it's not surprising that these mushrooms have been associated with improved outcomes for colon cancer, at least in mice. But mice continue to not be people, so another study investigated the same effect in human colon tumor cells. These are what's called in vitro studies, so the experiments were still preclinical and not necessarily how this would work inside of a living person, but we're talking about real human cancer cells in a dish. And when those cancer cells were supplemented with processed G. lucidum extracts, they died. So even in human cells, these mushrooms can kill cancer, this time by urging them into apoptosis, or programmed cell death. And the higher the dose of the mushroom extract those cells were exposed to, the less viable they became. Dose response. It's important. And critically, this did not happen to properly functioning human cells. So it's not like G. lucidum mushrooms are generally toxic, like many other mushrooms. Instead, they just go after cancer cells. We love a mushroom on a mission. It seems that with more of these processed mushroom extracts, researchers found higher levels of the proteins that promote apoptosis, plus lower levels of the proteins that prevent apoptosis from happening, meaning that these mushrooms hit the gas and take off the brakes when it comes to programmed cancer cell death. But so far, all I've talked about is how G. lucidum goes after colon cancer. And there are a lot of cancers out there that are not colon cancer, so here's some data on how the mushrooms fight breast cancer. Another in vitro study found that G. lucidum extract killed both mouse and human breast cancer cells. And if that's not enough, the mushroom extract also dealt with whatever cancer cells were left over by preventing them from spreading. When this mushroom extract was introduced to the cancer's environment, it brought with it more cancer-fighting immune cells, and this includes CD8 positive T cells and natural killer cells, which both kill cancer cells. Plus, they increased the prevalence of chemicals like reactive oxygen species, which damage the DNA of cancer cells. Researchers have tested this effect both in vitro and in live organisms with matching results. The same scientists gave G. lucidum extracts to mice and saw significantly less cancer spread compared to mice that didn't get the supplement. So preclinical studies of several kinds of cancer show promising results. But the studies I'm about to describe might be the most useful in terms of figuring out how real people with cancer could use these mushrooms. See, there's a gold standard of treatment for people diagnosed with ovarian cancer. It's a chemotherapy called cisplatin. If we trust anything when it comes to cancer treatment, it's surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. But some cancers have a nasty habit of chemoresistance, making cisplatin less effective. So one research group tried giving mice with ovarian cancer cisplatin and G. lucidum spores. The idea is that we know cisplatin can work, but sometimes it needs a little extra boost to keep cancer cells sensitized to it. And that's where the mushroom comes in. Cisplatin uses some of the same methods we've already covered to kill cancer cells, namely, it increases reactive oxygen species. It should work every time, but treatment-resistant cancer cells tend to have more antioxidative factors that keep reactive oxygen species low so they can survive in spite of our efforts. But since we know that G. lucidum can also increase reactive oxygen species, adding mushrooms to the equation can tip the scales in our favor again and put cancer cells back on track for cell death. When mice got this combo treatment, their cancer cells had higher rates of apoptosis and other forms of cell death, making cisplatin and mushrooms more effective together than either is apart. The evidence is looking pretty solid at this point in support of cancer-fighting mushrooms, but we have not gotten to the clinical trials yet. And before we do, it's time to interrupt this video with a brief message from our sponsors.
This video is supported by JUMP, the statistical analysis software trusted by some of the largest companies in the world. That means a lot of young professionals are benefiting from JUMP in the workplace, like those working to conserve our environment and transition us all to clean energy. JUMP helps them automate routine tasks to speed up analytics while maintaining or improving quality. Plus, it works within their systems to bring data from different sources together in one place and help to spot missing or abnormal data quicker. That means that JUMP helps them release new tools into production faster and with fewer errors, which means faster progress toward a greener world. Thanks, JUMP! To reap the benefits of visual statistics for yourself and get a 30-day free trial, visit jmp.com/SciShow.
While the preclinical data makes G. lucidum mushrooms look really good, clinical trials are old, few, and not conclusive. Several reviews have focused on just a few studies, like one published in 2003 that investigated an oral treatment called Ganopoly made of G. lucidum. 30 advanced stage cancer patients diagnosed with all sorts of cancers ate Ganopoly every day, 3 times per day for 12 weeks. After that regimen, researchers found significant changes to the patient's blood plasma. There were more natural killer cells and more immune cell signals, but not across the board. Some immune cell signals decreased. Generally, boosting natural killer cells is a good sign because they help fight cancer and tend to be less present in advanced stage cancer patients. But overall, this study had mixed effects in a very small sample, so it might not have been the resounding success that they were hoping for. Another study in the aughts tested 96 people whose colonoscopies identified colorectal tumors. They took G. lucidum extract daily for a year, while another 102 patients did not. At the year's end, the control group's colonoscopies had more tumors and larger ones, while the mushroom group had fewer than they started out with, and they got smaller. That's encouraging evidence, but again, the results weren't as clear-cut as we might want them to be. Only about half of the treatment group had seen a reduction in the number and size of their tumors, so it's effective for some people. Which people? Well, that's up to a future study to figure out. But maybe there hasn't been that follow-up because of this other study that kind of took the wind out of their sails. In the same time period, another investigation assessed 41 people with advanced colon cancer. They each ate mushrooms every day for 12 weeks. Several of their immune cell signals and natural killer cells increased by the end of the study, but not significantly. Considering they were looking at the same kind of cancer, it's hard to definitively say that these mushrooms help when the results are so all over the place. There's a ton of research explaining the various pathways and mechanisms that G. lucidum targets to potentially fight cancer, but when it comes to clinical trials in people, there's less evidence of more mushroom miracle cures. So here is where researchers draw the line today. Preclinical studies support the idea that these mushrooms are good at boosting immune response, and it's an exciting idea, but right now, it's still just an idea. Clinical trials have not overwhelmingly found these mushrooms to be a miracle cure. Right now, the consensus is not to eat these mushrooms instead of going through chemotherapy and radiation. Rather, you can eat these mushrooms in addition to those other cancer-fighting tools if your doctor approves, and it might make the effects more powerful. For a measly mushroom, I'm still fairly impressed.